Shalom, everyone, and welcome back to Practical Spirituality here at Beis Hashem in Nachlaot, Yerushalayim. Nachlaot is a state of mind. Now, today's session is about discomfort that happens inside our hearts with areas of life that we're not good at. No person wants to be engaged in the areas where they're challenged, and especially kids. Meaning, as adults, we all know that we've got to enter the challenging areas for ourselves if we're ever going to develop ourselves. And some stuff you have no choice. Like, for example, your finances. You're going to have some level of literacy just to pay your bills. I mean, you could try what we did. We just had a bunch of kids, and we gave each one of them a different job, as far as handling Israeli bureaucracy and all those things. I mean, we just kind of relied on our kids to take care of us all these years. But again, that's not so appropriate either, because then your kids shouldn't see parents' fragility. That's like one of the reasons why parents never smoke in front of their children. Meaning smokers smoke secretly, so as not to rip their kids off from the chance to have Superman as a father. Because parents are Superman and Superwoman. Is it Wonder Woman? Superman and Wonder Woman. And you need to have, at certain points of your childhood, a sense that your parents are like invincible. They're invulnerable to the world, and that they're... Okay, I got a great example of someone who's just powerful. So for that reason, it's really important that kids never see a father in a taiva. And there's no greater taiva than smoking cigarettes, because nicotine will just get someone to... can you sit on the side of that guy, right on the other side of him? You can switch chairs if you really love it. But I need someone right there. Yes, perfect. Especially that face and that smile. So nicotine is just such a vice, and we can convince ourselves of anything. I once was in the sukkah of the Pinsk Karliner Rebbe, and this guy was clearly uncomfortable with the situation. He's an introvert, and there were a lot of people and a lot of scene. And so he tells me, I just need to go get some fresh air. And I'm like, were we indoors? Like the schach's like 40 feet up, fresh air. He used it as, I need fresh air. Okay, what he really was saying was, I'm uncomfortable, I'm having social anxiety, and I need to go be by myself a little bit. But he said, I need to get some fresh air. Anyway, so after about 20 minutes, I went outside and I found him smoking a cigarette. That's his fresh air. Filling his lungs with smoke was his fresh air. Anyway, as adults, we know we got to go to the areas of where we're weak. If it's math, if it's money, if it's learning a profession, if it's a part of Torah. Like, for example, you guys all know that when it comes to Gemara, some of you veered towards Bekias, and some of you were able to stay with Ian. But every yeshiva, with a few exceptions, has Ian in the morning and Bekias in the afternoon. But as you no longer are under the thumb of a yeshiva hanhala, you start to notice, do you stick with the Ian, or are you really now a Bekias guy? And why? And the reason is because the Iyun, learning Talmud in depth, is a constant reminder that you're an ignoramus. It's a constant reminder that you don't know what in the world you're doing. And the reason is because Chazal, our sages, set it up such that the actual piece you're learning is filled with more questions than answers. And why? So that you would ask those questions, and you got to ask the right questions, and there's more questions, more questions, more questions, more questions. And then eventually, if you asked all the right questions, and then answered those questions, you'll discover that had you not asked those questions, had you just learned it Bekias, had you just learned it like you'd read it, for the Shachla V'Tarya, you would never, ever have gotten to what they were trying to say. You would never have gotten. And everyone who's learned Be'iyun, anyone who's learned in depth like that has always marveled at the fact that this is what they wanted you to know the whole time. Meaning, when you read that page of Gemara, okay, they want you to know the Shulchan Aruch, but they wanted you to know something that would have only come to light with the questions asked. But the problem is to ask that many questions is to admit you don't understand. What is a question? If you ask me a question, you're saying I don't know something. And if you do that in public, you're publicly admitting your ignorance. This is one of the big issues people raised in the black hatitude community, in the Haredi community, is that the girls are well trained in the ways of the world. The boys, on the other hand, have been really just given Gemara to learn for many, many, many years. Now they're 18. Now if they're Siddish, they're already getting married. If they're Litvish, maybe not yet. But but compared to their counterparts in the workforce of the Gentile workforce, they know nothing. Now, who wants to admit such a thing? Who wants to admit that? Nobody. So what happens is they all pretend they know everything. And how many young Hasidic young men are walking around the streets of Jerusalem, learning at the mirror, but they walk around as if they know. You can see in their body language, like they got it all worked out, they got it all wired. Why? Because they don't want to admit that they don't know they're behind from their elbow. When it comes to the world, they don't know anything. And to ask, but here's the crazy thing, you can't ask. Because the second you ask, you just expose the fact that you don't know it.
You're breaking up the whole system now?
No, what I'm saying is that I will tell you the answer, but there's one more step though. And what it does is it relegates them to a life of hustling. What's a hustler? A hustler is someone who figured out one place he could hustle without getting exposed for the fact that he doesn't know anything else. That's a hustler. And so it leaves them to a life of hustling. Whereas had they been able and willing to become beginners, true beginners, that's why I'm talking about Gemara, the way learning Gemara in depth causes everyone learning it to be a true beginner every time he opens it, a total ignoramus. It makes you into an Amaretz every time you open it. And if you can just somehow persevere through the piece that made you feel like such an ignoramus, if you get through it and ask the right question, and ask and ask and ask and ask, you'll get to what the sages were saying in the first place, what they were trying to tell you. So the answer is, to your question, I'm not here to break up anything. What I'm here to say is that ask. Be the beginner. Be the beginner. Everywhere you go, be the beginner. You're going to make you're going to make a move, ask. You want to buy a property? Ask a lot of people about that property or about the conditions that the bank's giving for the loans or whatever. Ask, ask, ask. You want to get married and you've got a girl in mind? Ask 20 people what they think about this, about the match. Ask, ask, ask. Don't stop asking. Never stop asking. And you want to know what's going to happen if you just start and never stop asking about everything. Just ask and ask and ask and ask. You know what will happen if you do that? When you're a little older, like 50, 60, 70, you know what's going to happen? Everyone's going to ask you. Everyone's going to ask you. You're going to be the person that everyone asks, which is very interesting. So you're going from like ignoramus, who so doesn't want to ask because that would expose me, to the guy who asks everything, to then becoming the person who is a clearinghouse of information. Why? Because if you spend 10, 20, 30 years asking about, like really asking a lot of advice, you will become the storehouse of answers for people who need. And when I married my wife, I must have asked, I don't even know, over 20 rabbis for full-on 1-hour meetings. Full-on 1-hour meetings. And getting married, it's like, that's 20 hours, 20 different, very insightful rabbis to discuss it with them. And it was, that's just the way I roll. It's the way I always roll. But I always was a beginner, and I still am a true beginner. And I ask, and I ask, and I ask, and I ask, and I ask. And so I'm telling you guys, like, just keep asking. And yeah, you're going to feel like a fool. And you're going to feel exposed. And you're going to feel like an ignoramus. But what's going to happen when you ask people is they're going to answer. And just one more thing about asking is if any of you guys want to make a lot of money in a particular field, the way to go is go to someone who mastered the field and became like a millionaire and is now, I would like to say, 60 years old or older, 60 and up, and ask him if he would take you out for lunch. And what you'll see is that he is desperate to share everything he learned. He's desperate to share everything he learned because he realized now he made his money and his kids hopefully still know his name from all his workaholism. His sons most likely are not that interested in his advice, like most sons. And here he has this young whippersnapper who's in his 20s or 30s, who's really interested in what he learned on his way to the top. And what will most likely happen is he will take you under his wing and show you everything he knows. And if he really trusts you and he feels you're that much of a beginner in your approach, meaning if you treat yourself as that true beginner, the likelihood he'd even take you under his wing and get you started. Very likely. Ask. Don't stop asking. Okay, so now we're going deep. Ready? Here we go. That was all introduction. As adults, I'll say it again, as adults, we know that we got to face the areas of life we're undeveloped in, right? Can I get a pop?
Pop.
Yeah, we got to develop that. Give a pop. This is the first time I've ever done this, by the way. Meaning where we use the word pop instead of raise your hand if you agree, or, so it's give a pop, okay? There's a reason why, by the way. Why are we saying pop? Because there's very few things in the world that when you heat them up, they don't expand. There's very few things in the world like that. Everything you heat up expands, no matter what. Metal expands, Hard objects expand when you heat them. Glass expands, like everything expands. The one thing that doesn't expand when you heat it up is a popcorn, which is how it got its nickname. What kind of corn is it? It does not expand. It just gets to a point where it's like, whoa, finally pop, And it goes from this like yellow hard kernel that would break a tooth to the most delicious fluffy snack where you can eat a whole bucket of it and like still walk away, And so why do we say pop? Because every insight you get is just they're all mini pops, little pea pops come into big pops in our life. And so each one of us is a yellow hard popcorn kernel. Each one of us is. We're all so scared of certain areas of ourselves, of the world, that we're very resistant. And what happens though is as we gain an insight, as we gain more lessons, as we grow, we eventually just become this gorgeous, fluffy, light popcorn. And we're all going that way, but it comes from all the pops. Give a pop. Okay. So we know as adults we got to go in those areas, but here's the chap. You ready? Kids who are like not even yet. Come on in. Kids who are like not even in my angle of the doors. I don't get to see who actually opened it, so I don't know if they're Hebrew speakers. Was that a Hebrew speaker? So, anyway. Kids, when you were a kid, you already sensed the areas of your life that were not your strong points. Everyone take a moment. Actually close your eyes a moment. Everyone close your eyes a moment. Think back to childhood. Maybe go to school, a classroom, or it could be in your home. But preferably outside the home, maybe a classroom or maybe the playground. But I want you to sense right now what area of life was the part you were going to avoid so that you could somehow shine in another area. What was that area? What was that area that was your challenging area? Go to that spot. See if you can see that. Now, Focus on the area you shine. Where did you shine? Was it socially? Was it sports? Was it scholarship? Where did you shine? And now open your eyes and look at your life today. And you'll see that you're still just, the steering wheel just moves towards that area where you shine. And it's like you don't even look. You don't even look over there. You're not looking over there. You don't want to look that way, because if I don't want to look that way. Because if I look that way, then I have to be exposed again to the area where I don't shine. You get that? Even though now as adults, we know we got to look that way. We got to look where we don't want to look. And we have to develop it. Otherwise, we're just going to be so lopsided. I mean, we're just going to be lopsided people. And
You're assuming we're adults, Rabbi.
Anyone got an example of a kid where the stuff you just didn't want to look at?
Aren't we all still kids? Isn't that
Isn't that what I just said, really? Yeah. Is that we're still looking, we're still going where we shine and avoiding certain areas. And just going to where you find. Anyone want to give it? I'll give it a personal example. It's very quick. Go ahead. What's yours?
I'm not sure if it's still true. I think it's true. It's probably sports. But before I came to Israel, I started playing. I was actually a lot better. So I don't even know if I don't shine there. When I was younger, I avoided sports a lot.
I got it. And where did you shine?
Everybody. Where did I shine?
Yeah.
Depends what age. Probably eventually it was socially.
Socially.
When I was very young.
You shine socially. Someone else got an example? I saw another hand.
I was miserable in yeshiva Gemara.
Right.
I shined in cycling. That was my.
That was your
escape,
go-to.
or, like that was my.
Amazing.
Now I'm confronting it.
Yeah.
I don't have my bike here. It's in the States.
Right.
And,
They do have bikes here, but I'm glad you're.
No.
No, I'm glad you're confronting it. That's what we have to do.
Yeah.
And I had a similar thing to you. Was classrooms were not my friend. I did not do well in the structure of school growing up, and I went to sports, and that was where I shined. You know. Now here's the point: is that we wind up going to that thing that we shine, and we don't want to look over there. Now I'd like to share with you guys that the place where you shine.
Basically, it's love me for that. Because
Well, only if
I
it's
don't want you to see that me.
right, but you're already
We all found sports or this or that to get people to love us, as opposed to knowing who we are.
right. Well, your first name again?
Moshe.
Moshe, you're a human being that's specifically others focused, and so you see the world in that they should love you. We weren't even there. We weren't even there. But that's a very important insight.
But isn't that what you're saying? Is that you're saying is we shine and we don't want to look somewhere else? Isn't that the explanation of what you're just saying? Why are we shining and not wanting to look at something else? Because we're using the shining to avoid what we're weak at.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. But you put it already in a social acceptance place, which is exactly what I would do, because I see the world like you do, and so I. No, I'm with you. I'm under the bus with you. I had the worst social anxiety of any person I ever met. The only reason the Possible Use Seminar exists was because the doctors were going to cut my kishkas out. They were going to cut my colon out. Because everyone knows, give a pop if your stomach gets a little tight when you have to show up socially. Well, it can get so tight that it just becomes useless. It becomes unusable. It doesn't digest anymore.
What age were you at that time?
The time they were going to cut my kishkas out, I was 33, which is the year the Possible You began. Because it was my breakthrough that I was, Baruch Hashem, the insight I had. Nothing like going into surgery than to get an insight, which made me avoid the surgery. I got to, Baruch Hashem, keep my digestive system. But there's nothing like, there's no atheist in a foxhole, when you're about to get killed or surgerized. So you get insights. And that insight created the Possible You. So my stomach issues, which were social anxiety issues, have now we're at 14,000 graduates. So, and in 6 cities with like 70 people working. So it's like, it all started with me buckled over in the bathroom. The whole thing was just me buckled over in the bathroom with the sound of music at some social event coming through the walls. Yeah, it was rough. But Baruch Hashem, I healed my stomach. You know, my stomach's now like amazing. You know, what? Well, I could go into it, but it's not for now. I don't mind sharing that, but not right this second. Anyway, you know, I was thinking is we should do a Hanukkah night together where I'll take the whole group on some crazy journey. One of the candles. You like that idea? We should do that one night. Go on a real serious journey together. So we have to discuss what night.
Some good stuff, you say?
You said you're going to be at Hanukkah, you never know.
Who?
You're going to be around Hanukkah?
I'm always, anytime it's Yom Tov,
you're here?
I'm in Yerushalayim. Anytime it's Yom Tov, including like my whole schedule revolves around Tu B'Shvat. I do a 12-hour food meditation every Tu B'Shvat.
Straight 12 hours?
12 hours straight.
12-hour what meditation?
Food meditation. Anyone been in my Tu B'Shvat Seder? He was there. What'd you think?
Still going.
You ever experienced anything like that in your life? There, people fly in for it. People fly in for it. This year they brought a brisker mashkiach. Were you in this year's one? Were you there last year? Because after night Seder, it fills with like 30, 40 brisk guys. And which is fine, but this year they brought one of their mashkichim and sat him right next to me in the Mizrach. You know what he said the next morning? These were his words to me. He says, I've been to a lot of spiritual events that weren't so halachic. I've been to a lot of halachic events that weren't so spiritual. But he says, I've been sitting next to you for the last 6 hours, you know, because he came late. He said, I've never experienced such a spiritual and halachic event in one location. I mean, it was like, because he's sitting next to me, he's watching, I'm making cheshbonos, because we have to make brachas over and over and over and over again, but you can't make a bracha levatala. So I have to thread the needle where you're doing, each bracha is 2 minutes long to get to ha'olam. Just to get to the word ha'olam is 2 minutes. People are flying. I mean, this is like, you're not in your body. By 2 a.m, you're no longer even in your body for this Tu B'Shvat Seder.
You believe he was there 6 hours?
Yeah.
No, I'm not gonna ask how long.
He got there like midnight or something. Or even 1, I think he got there. Anyway, the whole Tu B'Shvat Seder ends in the mikveh, by the way. Everybody, my neighbors are like, what the hell's going on in here? And because we do a whole thing about how to get into hot water. Many people never gotten in water that hot. And so I do a little coaching before. But right before the mikveh, we dance in Bati Broida. The whole entire group dances around the observatory to give bracha to the observatory for, we do the whole esrog tefillah. You guys know the esrog tefillah? Do the whole esrog. It's a whole night. But I bless y'all to come to this. You know, the truth is we could do it in there, just like nothing. And no one else is going to be in here till 7 a.m. We do shachris there. Anyway, so here's what I want to share with you. The place you shine can either be a bracha or it can be your Achilles heel. It can be your weak point. The place you shine. So like you shined in sports, you shined socially. I shined in sports and socially, although my stomach was dying while I was shining socially. You all know where you shine, right? You know where you shine. What
does that mean, that your stomach was, so it means that you were shining socially, you didn't recognize it?
He wasn't
Because
paying
you just said
attention.
that your stomach was.
It was a mask.
Yeah, it was total, hey, it was a total it was a strategy. My social interaction, where I would like completely blow everyone away at the party. Meaning, people would thank me for my whole life. People thank me for these big LA parties, giant parties, and they would thank me in the morning or whatever, 2 a.m, 3 a.m. They would say, "Thank you so much. It was a great party. We loved it." And I'm like, "Why are you thanking me?" And like, "You're not our host." And I'm like, I don't even know who the host is. You know, these giant LA parties, you know. And like, well, you're the one who greeted me at the door. You introduced me to like 5 different people. I said, I didn't know any of those people I introduced you to. I had met them earlier and I only met you, but I saw you by the door. You looked uncomfortable. And that's just how I rolled, but it was all strategies. It was just strategy. I was dying inside. I was dying
You
inside.
need to cover up your own social.
My own terrible, terrible fear of rejection. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to our business. So check this out. Wherever you shine is your escape. And wherever your escape is where your weaknesses and where your addictions are and where your inability to face the places you need to grow. This is getting heavy here. We're talking about, wait, I thought that's where I shine. Did you just rain on where I shine? Like, did you just eclipse the sun? Did you just bring in a cloud cover? I thought that's where I shine. Where you shine is where you escape. And you're escaping something. Where are you escaping? What are you escaping? You're escaping the places where you needed to develop yourself. You're escaping the places that you needed to develop yourself by shining in places you shine.
The dangerous thing is if we give that up to develop ourselves, who's to say we'll make it out alive?
Right. Right. Well, you'll notice something. This is only your second class with me, Moshe, but you'll notice that I always put you in jail, and then I always get you out. So we just took this jail we just basically put an extra lock on the jail just now.
How long is the jail time gonna last? Thanks.
In this room today, short.
Oh, no.
Very short. But I just want to give you the layers of the cake here, okay? Let's get the layers. Let's get the outline here. We spoke about, when we were kids, there was areas that didn't come naturally to us, so we went and shined somewhere else. As adults, we're still shining right there. We're just big kids. Still shining right there, still avoiding the areas that we haven't developed. And we are, but it's become our escape. When it's our escape, that's our weakness, that's our addiction, that's our exactly what's in the way of ever developing the other side. Not a great example to kids. Not causing our wives to be sensing a powerful vibration in us, which is the key to them being able to surrender as women into the relationship. Meaning all of our wives are meant to be surrendered into our love. They're surrendered into love. That's our goal as married men. But if she keeps seeing you in your vice, which might be a beautiful thing, it might be very social, or it might be sports, or it might be learning. But if she sees that you are escaping, she senses the weakness, and then she loses her own life, because we're the sun and she's the moon, and we're causing her to shine or not if we're in escape mode.
Even though she's seeing you being successful.
Right, she could, right, and she doesn't buy it. That's how you know. Women are very, they're very instinctual. So you could be very successful. In fact, the place you shine might be exactly what causes her to be able to use a credit card to buy all her nice stuff. And now she's driving around an SUV and stuff. But she doesn't respect it. And remember, it always goes like this. Respect brings attraction. Respect and attraction. They always go together. Respect and attraction. Respect and attraction. A woman can't respect a man who doesn't want to look at his challenges. But when a man does look at his challenges, and all you married men, raise your hand if you're married here, just so I get a feel. Yeah. Married. So the married men know that when you're, have you ever noticed how excited, those who are married, have you ever noticed how excited it gets your wife when you make even baby steps in areas you're not good at? They get so excited. Meaning, let's say you're not good at building a sukkah. Let's say you're not good at building sukkahs. You're not a hands-on guy. But you build the simplest sukkah in the world, and your wife knows that was b'chol meodecha to do that, even though like a 11-year-old could have built that. So, you know what I mean? They're too.
My in-laws are like very old builders,
like the smallest things, it's like, whoa.
Right, and you did nothing, right? And they get excited because they see you're facing your dragon. And that's a theme, a mythological theme in life, is to face your dragons. Dragons are little. It was just a little thing you did. Dragons are little. You know what makes big fire-breathing dragons? You know what makes big fire-breathing dragons? Look away from them. They grow. Turn this way. They start getting really big. It gets harder and harder to turn around and slay it with your knife. A woman so deeply respects a man who slays his dragons, even as tiny as they are. I mean, I could put together the silliest thing in the world. I could fix the shower head holder. The shower head holder, my wife knows me and my hands with handiwork is just not a match. We're just not a match. But if she sees me just take out the drill and put in the shower head holder, it's like she's married to Mr. Fix-It. Shkoyach. Hopefully there won't be any fights in the parking lot over there. Was there one yesterday?
There was a lot of noise.
There was one a few days ago.
You have such a clear mind of your struggles and your strengths. I have a hard time figuring out
You can come through. Yeah.
figuring out my things I run away from. I just totally avoid it. I don't even know that I'm avoiding it, It's like, that's a lot of work also.
Oh, yeah.
Figuring out yourself basically is
Oh, yeah.
very hard.
Yeah.
Well, if the
If
worst,
I knew right now, this is my strength, this is my weaknesses, so then
That'd be a lot more
it's
helpful.
much easier to practicalize it.
but if you wouldn't know what to do with it, then it's worse to know.
Okay, true, right? So we need to
Right. You got to be able to get out of jail, not just see the bars. So,
Men, on the other hand, we look up to the powerful, to the person that mastered that specific area.
yeah, we do.
We don't care about the other things. Like the women, they care about the smaller things that we struggle with, and they don't get us to that point and show us how to struggle.
And we look up to the people who have mastered those things. Yeah. Regarding the blind spots, the stuff we don't know that we don't know, it's very hard to know stuff that you don't know. You ever thought about stuff you don't know that you don't know?
It's the biggest blessing that we don't.
Meaning, for example, Chinese. I know there's a language called Chinese, and I know I don't know Chinese. But how about the fact that I don't know the stuff that I don't know? That's
It's just unclarity.
right. But if it's within me, that's a problem. We need access to that. Well, there are hints. There are definitely hints. And the hints is that God set up this planet to be a feedback mechanism. So let's just say, for example, you get in arguments, meaning people argue with you. People argue with you. And I'm not talking lishma, meaning you're having a lot of arguments. So if you're having a lot of arguments, that's a hint from Hashem. That's a feedback mechanism that somehow I'm not at peace. Because someone at peace doesn't get in a lot of arguments. Let's say someone's being abusive, verbally abusive, meaning they just can't stop dumping their garbage on you. Well, that's another hint. Because if someone's dumping their garbage on you, that makes you a garbage can. So what about me is where people should dump their garbage. So by looking at the world around you, God created this world as a feedback universe. You understand? It's a feedback universe, and the world is feeding back to you the hints that you need to know the areas that you got to grow in. Okay, let me get you all out of jail, though. Ready? You can actually do the stuff you shine in, but you need to have a little shift, a mental shift. And what is that mental shift? You have to move it from escape to rejuvenate. From escape to rejuvenate. Meaning I could ride my mountain bike as an escape, or I could ride it to do what you probably think I'm doing. I'm rejuvenating. I'm charging my batteries. Rejuvenate. Escape, rejuvenate. Some of you chose to be into learning, like that's your escape. No. Make it be where you charge your batteries. That's where you charge your batteries, not your escape. You don't have to actually change anything. Keep shining. Keep shining exactly how you've learned to shine in this world. Keep shining that way. But you got to make a shift. And the shift is from escape to rejuvenate. Let's look what escape looks like. Let's look what rejuvenate looks like. And then we'll call it a day. Escape looks like this. Okay? Now, what I want to share with you, I wish I had a whiteboard. Maybe I'll start bringing in a whiteboard. But yeah. What? Whiteboard?
Might scare us off, like class.
I know. It's so helpful, especially in this particular case. A whiteboard would be very helpful. But I'm going to have over here life A, life B. Okay? Life A, life B. Life A is all the stuff you got to do, and life B is all the stuff you want to do. Okay? It's the stuff you got to do and the stuff you want to do. Life A is bills, marriage, children, work, davening, learning, it's all the stuff you got to do. Let's just say a minimal of learning, it's stuff you got to do. And life B is where you shine. So we spoke about that already. It's the stuff you shine. I should have done the opposite way. I'm going to go, because this was a place we didn't want to look. I don't know. We'll just go like this. So life B is where you shine. So life B for me is my mountain bike. I'm on my surfboard. I'm enjoying a beer on Shabbos. I'm screaming my guts out in Carlin. Okay? That's my life B. That's where I shine. And life A is my wife, it's my bills, it's the bank, it's the accounting, it's the taxes, it's everything I got to deal with versus life B. Now watch what happens. If life B is escape, what are we talking about? Life B, where you shine. Is it escape or is it rejuvenate? If it's escape, so then the whole time you're in life A, what are you daydreaming about? You're always in B. So what you start to realize is that you always live there. I mean, you may not be doing it right now. You may not be doing B because you have to deal with A, but your mind is in B.
That's a healthy thing.
What?
That's very healthy. You're excited about something. That's what we should.
No one should take care of that.
Maybe a better example would be this guy's at work, but he can't wait to get to a bar where he's going to be drinking beer and snorting cocaine. Okay? And he's married, but there's someone else waiting at the bar. Okay? And that's his life B. You got that? So who's he thinking about when he gets home finally and his wife's wants to talk about her day, which is what women do. They want to review their day. Yeah. So and by the way, every man who's a married man has to know that when you see your wife, the first time at the end of the day is let her review her day. And by the way, she's probably reviewed it already a few times with her best friend and with her sister and the other sister and her mother, and they review the day, but they have to have the final review with their husband. Y.Y. Jacobson had an amazing joke that he would fall asleep when his wife would review her day. And she would say, "Why are you falling asleep? I'm reviewing my day." And he says, "Because I love you." And she's like, "If you love me, you listen, you wouldn't fall asleep." And he says, No, by falling asleep, it prevents me from jumping out the window. Because I love you too much that you should be an almana. Not a very...
Rabbi, you got better jokes.
That was YY's joke. I like that joke. I mean, I really told him way Bekitzer, So, anyway, if this is escape, if life B is escape, life A doesn't exist, because every time I'm there, I'm just thinking about that. You ready for this? When I'm in the escape, all of life A grows like pointed ears and fangs. When you're in life B, when you're in your escape, and you're daydreaming a little bit about things you got to do tomorrow and responsibilities and the wife and the kids and the bills and the work and the which is all stuff you chose. You chose to have that life. Yet, for some reason, it's turning into the devil. It's turning into a demon. So what happens is when the place you shine, as a kid, and I understand why the kid went that way. He's not mature enough to know that he had to look in the direction of that which is challenging for him. I know he doesn't want to look that way. And I know he shined the way he shined. But the problem is now we're adults, and we're still afraid to look in the areas we got to grow. And we're still just trying to shine the ways we shine. But the problem is if that becomes an escape, so then life A, you're never in, because even if you're in, you're over there. You can't wait to get over there. You're like, you want to cut every conversation short so you can get to there. You know, it'd be an example would be like I do a lot of one-on-one therapy work. So I'm working with someone one-on-one, but I'm about to go mountain bike. Like the second that 3 o'clock hits, he got me from 2 to 3. At 3 o'clock, I'm going mountain biking. And the guy's like, Rabbi, can we just do an extra half hour? I'm happy to pay for it. I'd be like, yeah, maybe tomorrow. Because I'm not there, you know. If I would be escaping, I wasn't there during 2 to 3. You understand? I'm not even there 2 to 3, which, by the way, I would never do because I learned what I'm about to teach you. I already taught it, but now I'm going to really teach it. I learned this years ago. And this is when I started my journey to become an adult, which I was in my 40s when I discovered what I'm sharing with you. But this is when I discovered this, and it's made such a massive difference, is to take your escape and turn it into rejuvenate, charge the battery.
Major cash on everything you said.
1 sec, don't lose it.
I'm not losing it.
If it's major, you wouldn't lose it. Is once it's rejuvenate, you ready for this? Now when I'm mountain biking, I'm racing down the trail. It used to be, I was like, there's a fork, and I told my wife I'd be back at 6, but there's a fork that leads down this amazing canyon. And like, I think I could do it faster than usual and still get back at 6. Right or wrong?
Wrong.
100% wrong. And most likely for even doing that, God's going to send a flat tire in the middle of that fork, and I'm going to come home at like 9, you know, having pushed my bike for 2 miles in the dark, dealing with like little coyotes everywhere and stuff, you know, nipping at my heels, you know. And so now it's like racing my mountain bike just the whole time, just thinking like, can't wait to re-engage with my work. Can't wait for my next meetings. Can't wait to see my wife. Can't wait to get home and bounce my kids on my knees. You know, like I'm just like in the middle of the ride and I'm dreaming about life A. Why? Because what am I charging my batteries for? Life A. I'm charging the batteries for the things I'm responsible for the things I wanted, things I chose to do. And so what happens is once you can flip your escape into rejuvenate, once you can flip it, it's no longer an escape. Now I can finally look in the direction of now I'm switching now, not to life A, but to the place I never developed. The glaringly obvious blind spots in my life, I can now go develop those. Because when you're in escape mode, you'll never look in the direction of the things you're escaping. Meaning of the areas of your life you need to be developing. When you're in escape, you'll never look that way. But if you can keep it as rejuvenate, if you can make the flip and start rejuvenating with the things that you do, and it's just a change of mindset, but if you can make that flip, not only is life A a blessing, like you love life A, you love it, and you fulfill it completely. So when it hits 3 in a private meeting with someone, I'm ready to go riding for sure. But he got everything I've got to give for that hour. I'm going to give it all with joy and with compassion and with dedication, commitment. But 3 o'clock hits, I'm out on the trail. As the sun sets early. If it was summertime, yeah, you can have an extra half hour. Winter, gets dark at 5. And leaving for a mountain bike ride at 3, by the time I get on all my equipment, there's no extra half hour for this. But I'm 100% in my life A. And when I go recharge the batteries, it's a blast, but it doesn't have that stolen waters aspect. It's not poisoned by me in an addiction. And then I can now turn towards life A and live it. And most importantly, what this whole class was about, face the areas that I know I got to develop that I never want to look at. I can now finally look towards the place I never wanted to look at and develop these things, even though they expose me as an amaretz, even though I'm exposed as
How does
not
rejuvenation,
understanding it, and I'm going to have to do baby steps to develop it, which is so embarrassing. But I'll look that way because I'm no longer escaping.
how does rejuvenating do that?
Is this the kasha?
No.
First the shaila.
My kasha is, how do you turn your girlfriend in the bar into rejuvenation? That's You're saying is, it's an escape.
That's it.
Terry says you never had a rejuvenating thing, you only had an escape. So it's a kind of, that's.
You find her a shidduch. No, that particular example.
I understand, but it's a point.
I went a little far with that example,
I
but
understand, the point is the same. If
it's got to be mutter.
if it's an addiction, if it's an escape, the teretz is that you don't have something that makes you alive. That's why you came up with the escape. That's my question. So that's the problem.
Say it again.
If you have an escape,
Yeah.
then that's why it's an escape. If you have an escape, if it's an escape for you, that means you don't have something that you shine at for real.
No.
Teretz is you need to find what you shine at in order to shine, and that it shouldn't be an escape. Why is it an escape?
Moshe, you're making a further distinction, which may be very valid and important, and that is escapes. I was being very specific. I was talking about the place you shine, which for you would probably be socially, but the place you shine has become your escape. You're right, we also have vices that we need to get rid of. I'm not discussing vices. I was very specifically talking about escaping the place you shine. What we spoke about, you two had just walked in, and what we spoke about was that there's certain areas you shined as a kid, and you'll notice as an adult, that's where you keep going. Because it's become your escape from the places you didn't shine, which you need to develop to become whole as a human being.
So how do you get out of jail? I don't see how that gets you out of jail.
Oh, because the jail, the real bars of the jail is the fact that I've been escaping there. The second I stop that and just say, that's where I charge my batteries. I mean, you'll have to put in practice later. So for example, I'm going to challenge you, Moshe, that in the next 24 hours, you're going to find a situation where you're avoiding something and you're going to go socialize. Because you shine socially.
Okay.
You're going to be in that situation. And what I'm going to ask you to do is one of two things you can choose. It's probably going to happen more than once, by the way. So let's do both. So one of the times I want you to face the thing that you were escaping socially. And the other time I want you to go socialize. But do it in such a way that says, I'm going to do 10 minutes of this. I'm going to schmooze with the guys for like 10 minutes. And then I'm going to hit that thing that I'm avoiding with such speed and commitment and power, and I'm going to nail it. So what I'm asking you to do is be hyper aware for the next 24 hours of when you're going towards socializing and escaping something very specific. And I want you to one time not do the socializing and just go deal with the thing you're escaping. And the other time I want you to yes do the socializing to fill the tank so that you can go hit 10 minutes later, 20 minutes later, choose a time that you're going to go hit the thing you were escaping.
Or we could just do what your class said yesterday to do, and that will make you face what you're escaping.
It's just bumping into everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, that was our session today. Does anyone have any random thoughts, questions? Anything?
How do you convert the shine, the way you shine, to be a rejuvenation that helps you tackle what you're avoiding?
Well, the fact that you shine there is going to rejuvenate you anyway. The move, meaning the place we shine, what's good for us? The good thing is that where we shine, we generally get rejuvenated. We generally do get rejuvenated where we shine. So it's pretty good. It's good for us. The issue is that we've allowed escapism to creep into where we shine in order to avoid the places we need, the direction we need to look at where we do need development. We've allowed escapism to creep in. All we're doing is creeping it out. Creep the escapism out of where you shine so that you can use that shining place for charging batteries to go to the areas where you need to grow. Got it? Okay. Any others?
And then there's a question of how do you actually grow? Okay, so
Well, if it's a financial thing, you need to that's the beginning of the class. You got to put your tail between your legs, and you got to walk up to someone who's close to you as an accountant and just say to him, listen, buddy, we're friends for years. We've been to a million kiddushes together. I love you so much, but I need you to teach me Aleph Beis. I need to learn Aleph Beis. If you need me to pay you, I will, but I think it's probably worth an hour of your life to just give me Aleph Beis in accounting so I can stop being such a mess when it comes to my finances and just take those baby steps. I've done this over and over again. I mean, I'm such a beginner at everything I do.
It's get easier.
Now, to ask,
Yeah, once you do it a million times.
asking people for help, it's always been easy for me. I never had issues with exposing my beginnerhood. So I can't answer that really. And maybe it gets easier for people. There was one thing I want to say about it though, is that the hard part. Oh yeah, I want to say something is, you shouldn't, if you run a company or a business of some sort, you should be hiring people where you're weak. Why? Because hiring someone who shines in that area of the business is going to make your business fly. You understand? For you to be, so I'm going to throw this all on its head now, is if you're actually in a business that you're trying to grow and be responsible for, that it should be big and great and make a difference for whatever it is, real estate or retail, I don't care what it is, Amazon, whatever it is. The stuff you shine in should be your area in the business, and the stuff that other people shine in should be their area. You hire people for that. And if you say to yourself, how am I going to afford that? Like my business isn't big enough to hire people. Take a loan. Take a loan. Borrow half a year's salary for somebody. Find someone who really shines in that area, and I promise you within months you'll have already paid off the loan, you'll be paying this guy, and the company will be making the kind of money that this guy's going to become, one of the main, established workers there. Don't have the places you need to grow be where everyone's counting on you. Make sure your garden where you're spending your time and effort is where you shine, professionally, while you develop the other side. So for example, everywhere I don't shine, I have people working. But I study what they're doing. I study it. And they're like, why do you want to know this? Like, why do you need to know this? Why are you even interested in this? And I just say, because these are my blind spots. Like, these are the areas that all my life I've refused to look in that direction. So I'm facing my dragons a little bit. Don't worry, I'm not going to take over your job. That's not going to happen. You still have that position, but I'd like to know about it. I don't know that stuff. That's exactly what I avoided my whole childhood, was dealing with that stuff. Got it? Shalom, everybody. It was great. Okay?
But I feel like if you just do what you spoke about yesterday, you don't need today's